Ever get that feeling like when you look at a map of the world, the way wealth is distributed is, I don't know, kind of weird.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, why are some countries so far ahead economically while others are lagging behind? It's a question that's puzzled people for centuries, and well, we're diving deep into it today.
All right, let's get it.
We're going back in time, like way back 500 years, to uncover this kind of shocking economic pattern, a real head scratcher.
Okay, I'm intrigued. So, where are we headed first on this historical deep dive?
Picture this. It's 1500, way before the internet, even before the United States existed as we know it.
Okay, got it. Setting the scene.
And believe it or not, the economic powerhouses of the world, they weren't exactly where you might expect.
Oh, really? Not where you'd expect. So not like London or Paris.
Not even close. We're talking sophisticated, bustling cities in the Americas, India, Southeast Asia places, teeming with more people than, say, the US or Canada would have for a century.
Wow, that's pretty mind-blowing. I mean, we always hear about how Europe was this hub of activity back then.
Right. And that's where things get interesting. It's like the whole geography is destiny idea. Fertile land, good climate, that should equal economic success. Well, it kind of falls apart when you look at the shifts that happen after 1500.
Ah, so that's where European colonization enters the picture, bringing with them, well, a lot more than just their ships.
Exactly. It wasn't just about spices and silk. It was about something much more influential, institutions.
Yeah.
You see, they brought their rule book, their own particular way of organizing their societies and their economy.
I see. So it's like they were running this giant experiment, transplanting their sisters to new lands.
Exactly. And this is where it gets really interesting, because some places got a version of those institutions that encouraged, say, individual effort, fair competition, those kinds of things.
Right, the building blocks of like a dynamic market economy.
Exactly. But other places, not so much.
And that's where this institutional reversal comes into play, right? This idea that the places you might expect to become economic powerhouses based on geography or resources, well, they didn't always, and vice versa.
Right. You almost get this kind of unexpected shuffling of the deck.
Absolutely. Take urbanization, for instance. Before factories and skyscrapers dominated the landscape, a booming city was a clear sign of economic muscle.
Makes sense. You needed a solid agricultural surplus to feed everyone, trade networks humming along, and infrastructure that wouldn't crumble under pressure. These weren't just random gatherings.
Right. It took serious organization and resources to make it all work.
Okay, so back to this institutional reversal. Think of the neo-Europes, the US, Canada, Australia, places that were far from economic powerhouses in 1500.
Got it.
But they underwent these incredible transformations largely because they adopted institutions favoring things like private property rights, broader participation in the economy, giving more people a seat at the table.
Yeah, so they hit the jackpot not just because of their geography, but because of the rules of the game that they put in place.
Like finding a winning lottery ticket someone dropped on the sidewalk.
Exactly. And meanwhile, you have places like Latin America or parts of Africa that, even with those coveted geographical advantages, they often ended up with institutions that didn't exactly encourage widespread prosperity.
It's like having the map to a gold mine, right? But ending up at a dead end while someone else stumbles upon a different path and strikes it rich.
Right. And it all comes back to those institutions, those often invisible but powerful rules of the game. But why? Why did some colonies end up with more inclusive institutions while others got stuck with more extractive ones?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Was it deliberate? Part of some grand plan?
Well, if only it were that simple. It's a really complex tapestry of factors. Sometimes it was about the specific resources Europeans were after. Like, if they were mostly interested in extracting gold or silver, they might not have bothered setting up institutions that encouraged broader economic development.
Right, because why invest in something long-term if you're just there for a quick smash and grab?
Exactly. Other times, it was about the existing power structures they encountered. If they could strike deals with local elites and keep those existing hierarchies in place, well, that was often the easier path.
So it wasn't always some evil scheme to keep certain places down. Sometimes it was just a matter of, well, taking the path of least resistance.
Exactly. It was a combination of unintended consequences and, let's be honest, a healthy dose of opportunism.
Okay, so we've got this institutional playing field set. But then, on the horizon, boom, the Industrial Revolution explodes onto the scene.
Which really throws a whole other wrench into the system, doesn't it? Like, imagine handing everyone this incredibly powerful engine.
Right, a game changer for sure.
But here's the catch. Only those with the right fuel, the right institutions in place could actually make that engine roar.
So those who embraced private property encouraged innovation and fostered competition.
They were off to the races, their economic engines were fueled and ready to go. But those with extractive institutions, where the name of the game was control and, resource hoarding.
Yeah, their engines probably sputtered and stalled.
Exactly. They simply couldn't keep up.
It's like some countries hit the gas while others were stuck with the parking brake on.
Yeah, it's no wonder we see this dramatic economic split in the 19th century. It's like
Yeah.
those neo-Europes we talked about, the U.S., Canada, their institutions, they were like rocket fuel for industrialization, right?
Yeah.
But the places that were held back by those extractive systems, the ones that concentrated power and wealth in the hands of just a few,
They just couldn't keep up.
it's like trying to win a race with a horse and buggy when everyone else has moved on to sports cars.
Totally. I mean, seriously, look at the economic map from 1500. It's practically unrecognizable now. And to think, it's those seemingly boring institutions that have been pulling the strings this whole time.
It really highlights that deep, deep link between history and economics, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, for sure.
Choices made centuries ago, they still echo in the world we live in today.
Okay, but now I'm curious. What about good old-fashioned geography? Mountains, rivers, coastlines, all that jazz. Surely that still matters.
Of course, geography isn't irrelevant. It's not the be-all and end-all.
Okay,
Think of it like this. Geography, it's like it gives you a set of tools,
okay.
institutions. They determine how effectively you use those tools.
So, a country that's loaded with natural resources but stuck with lousy institutions.
It'd be like having a top-of-the-line toolbox.
But zero clue how to use any of it.
A perfect analogy. And on the flip side, a country with maybe fewer resources, but strong, adaptable institutions.
They're like master craftspeople. They can take basic tools and still create something amazing.
Exactly.
It's about maximizing your potential, right?
Absolutely.
Using those institutions, those rules to unlock what you've got.
And that's what makes this whole reversal of fortune thing so fascinating.
Yeah.
It reminds us that the economic landscape, it isn't fixed. It's dynamic. It's this constant interplay of geography, history, and, most importantly, those institutions.
So when we look at the world's economic map today, we're not just seeing mountains and rivers and coastlines. We're seeing something more.
We're seeing the ghosts of decisions past,
Mm.
the institutional paths taken or not taken.
It's like this giant tapestry, each thread representing a choice made, an event unfolded, all woven together to create this intricate pattern we see now.
A beautiful way to put it. And it makes you wonder, doesn't it?
Up
About a
there.
future.
Yeah.
What will the map look like in another 500 years?
The million-dollar question. What's your take? What's your crystal ball telling you?
I think the answer lies in the institutions we actively choose to build and support today. This isn't just a history lesson, is it?
Definitely not. It's a call to action. The future isn't preordained. We're shading it right now in this very moment.
And by understanding how much impact those institutions have, past and present, I think we can make more informed choices about the kind of world we want to create. We can design systems that create widespread opportunity, not just for a lucky few, but for everyone.
So it's like we've been handed this incredible tool, this understanding of how institutions can make or break a society's success. So what do we do with that?
It starts with you. You're not just a bystander in all of this. You're a potential architect. You have the power to influence institutions in your community, your workplace, even in the choices you make every day.
It's like we've journeyed from these bustling ancient cities all the way to the roar of the Industrial Revolution, and it all kind of boils down to this. Institutions, man, they really matter.
And it's not just a history lesson, right? This is about you, about the world we're building right now.
It's like someone handed us this, I don't know, this treasure map, this deep understanding of how institutions can either make or break a society's success. But the question is, what do we do with that?
It means you listening right now, you have a role to play. You're not just watching this all happen. You're a potential architect. You've got the power to influence institutions in your own life even, in your community, your workplace, even just the choices you make on a daily basis.
Okay, so how does that actually work? Like, how does someone listening actually do that? It all seems kind of big, you know?
It starts small. It starts with awareness. Just by understanding how these rules of the game actually work, you can start asking the right questions about the systems around you. Like, is this system fair? Does it give everyone a fair shot, a real opportunity? And once you start asking those questions, that's when you can start advocating for change.
Okay, so like, How? What are some practical things people can do?
Well, you could start by supporting businesses and organizations that align with the values we've been talking about. Vote for policies that you think will create more inclusive institutions.
So those seemingly small choices, they can actually add up to something bigger.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of just talking about these things either. Like, have these conversations with your friends, your family, your coworkers. Get people thinking about these ideas. Because the more people who understand how much institutions actually shape our world, well, the more we can all start demanding better ones, right?
It's like we can all band together to kind of tilt the scales a little, make things a bit fairer. Create more of those winning lottery tickets for everyone, not just a select few.
Absolutely. Because a world with stronger, more inclusive institutions is a world where everyone, and I mean everyone, has a shot at prosperity. No matter where they're born, what advantages they may or may not have had growing up. It's about leveling that playing field.
We've covered a lot of ground today, but looking back, it all really comes back to this one key idea. Institutions matter. I mean, they've shaped the world we live in right now, and they're absolutely going to shape the world we leave behind for future generations.
But here's the good news. We have the power to choose. We can learn from the past, understand where we are in the present, and then hopefully work towards building a future where prosperity is something that we all share, a reality for everyone, not just some far-off dream. I think that's the real power of understanding institutions.
And that is exactly the journey we've tried to take together today. So, as you go about your day, as you move through the world, think about those institutions, big and small, and never underestimate your own ability to make a difference. The future's being written right now, and you, my friend, you've got a pen.